Hello everyone, this is Muskan Soni from Hitkani Dental College, and I am going to lay emphasis on the topic that is cyst. Particularly, I am taking the part of jaw cysts. So I'll be talking about the cysts which are present in the jaw region, mainly the maxillary and mandibular regions. So coming to the definition of the cyst, by Kramer, it is defined as a pathological cavity which is having fluid, semi-fluid or gaseous content, but not created by the accumulation of the pus. So these linings should be marked that it is not created by the accumulation of the pus. It's actually the pathologic cavity which may or may not be lined by epithelium, but filled with fluid, semi-fluid or gaseous contents. Another definition by Schaefer is that it is a pathologic epithelium lined cavity, usually containing fluid or semi-solid material. Now coming to the basic structure of the cyst, it is composed of three basic structures, that is the lumen, epithelial lining, cyst wall or capsule. So lumen is the central cavity, which we can see the diagram here. The white cavity in the middle, we can see that is the lumen. The red lining is the epithelial lining, and the white fibrous appearance is about the cyst wall or the capsule. So this is the basic structure of the cyst. Now the lumen. Lumen is usually filled by fluid or semi-solid material like cellular debris, keratin, mucus. And according to the cellular debris or according to the material filled in the lumen, we classify the cyst as well. Now the epithelial lining, it differs with the type of cyst. Means different type of cyst will have different epithelial lining, like stratified squamous, pseudostratified, columnar or cuboidal. Now the cyst wall, it is composed of connective tissue, and we know very well that connective tissue contains fibroblast and blood vessels. And if in case the cyst is infected, then the cyst wall will have inflammatory cells as well. So then we see the classification of cyst, which is given by Scher, that is the cyst of the jaws. Some of the cysts are associated with maxillary antrum, cyst of the soft tissues of the mouth, face, neck and salivary glands. I will here explain you the cyst of the jaws, mainly the cyst of the jaws, and that too I will discuss about the particular cyst, that is the OKC, that is odontogenic keratocyst. So now coming to the classification of cyst given by Kramer, Pindberg and Scher, it is divided into epithelial and non-epithelial. This epithelial and non-epithelial is actually about the lining. That is, it can be lined or cannot be lined by epithelium. So there are two types, epithelial and non-epithelial. Under epithelium, that is, if the cyst is lined by epithelium, then there is developmental and inflammatory. Under developmental, we have the odontogenic and non-odontogenic. So today I'm going to talk about the odontogenic cyst. And that too, in that I will talk about the OKC, that is odontogenic keratosis. So we'll go through the odontogenic cyst. The odontogenic cyst is a cyst in which the lining of the lumen is derived from the epithelium involved in the tooth development. So the epithelium lining is that lining which is involved in the tooth development. Means during the development of the tooth, what all the cells or the epithelium take place, participate to form the tooth or to develop the tooth, that all the contents comes here and lines this cyst. So they are derived from rest of molasses, rest of serrase, reduced enamel epithelium, tooth germ, and possibly basal layer of oral epithelium. So as it is clear by the definition that it is involved in tooth development. So all the tooth development cells and everything, they all will derive this odontogenic cyst. So all these are there. Now, the odontogenic keratocyst. It was first used by Philipson in 1956. I am talking about the OKC, which is an odontogenic cyst, which is lined by epithelium and comes under developmental odontogenic cyst, which is known as odontogenic keratocyst. Now keratocyst, by name we can understand that kerato, that means keratin. As keratin is involved in this particular name, that is keratocyst, so we can say that keratin is filled in this lumen. So the keratocyst name because the cyst epithelium produces abundant keratin which fills the lumen. Now unique developmental odontogenic cyst with distinct clinical and biological behavior compared to other cysts. This cyst, I have lay emphasis on this cyst because this cyst is very aggressive in nature, and it has many of the we can say the quality or the things we can see in this cyst are very much different as compared to other cysts. Like it has a potential to behave aggressively, it has the capacity to recur. I will tell the reason how it has the capacity and why it has the capacity to recur. And it can be associated with nevoid basal cell carcinoma syndrome. Hence, it is considered as benign neoplasm. Because nevoid basal cell carcinoma syndrome is also a type of skin cancer which repeatedly comes in our body. So that is also have a very great mitotic rate. So due to the mitotic rate of this cyst and this basal cell carcinoma syndrome, we have compared these both and have classified it as benign neoplasm. So now, coming to the different growth mechanism, we have many type of growth mechanisms of different cysts. But here, the mechanism or the growth mechanism of OKC is that it is inherent in the epithelium itself, or there is any enzymatic activity of the fibrous cyst wall. Means most of the cysts like DC and RC, that is the dentigrous cyst and the radicular cyst, these both grows by osmotic pressure. If there is increased osmotic pressure, the size of the cyst of these DC and RC increases. But in case of OKC, that is odontogenic keratocyst, या तो epithelium खुद से involve होगा, या there are some of the enzymes present on the fibrous cyst wall that will allow the cyst to grow. So because of the activity of the epithelium and enzymes present in the cyst wall, they will make the cyst to grow or act as a growth factor. Now this epithelium of the OKC is very much active, so we can say that they have a very high mitotic activity. Hence, afterwards, it was reclassified again as benign odontogenic neoplasm. Now, etiopathogenesis. The origin, or we can say the cause of this OKC is from dental laminar remnants and basal cells of oral epithelium. Then coming to the clinical features, it is like any age, and rarely we can see before 10 years. If we talk about the gender, then mostly males are affected and whites are affected mostly. Very rarely females are affected and blacks are affected. Then site, if we talk about the site, then mandible, mostly the mandible areas, and in mandible also the ramus area, then the third molar area, then the second molar area, and then the anterior region. We very well know that where is the ramus area in the mandible. It is present in the posterior part of the jaw, and it takes part in the temporomandibular joint as well. So mostly we can see it in a ramus area, then third molar area, and then second molar, then anterior region. In maxilla also, if we'll talk about rare cases, then it is present on the third molar area only. So this is the areas related to maxilla and mandible. We see this cyst mostly in the mandible and very rarely in the maxilla, and that too in these sites. Other than these sites are also affected, but rarely. Now we have the lesions that are small and large. Small lesions are mostly asymptomatic, so we can't get it clinically. We get it accidentally, like we do any radiographic examination, as any patient has come and he has a complaint of caries or pain and anything. And for getting to that, we take the radiographic examination, and in that we get a lesion, a small lesion, and then that time we come to know that, oh, it's a case of OKC. Clinically, we can't find it. Radiographically, we can see it. So accidentally, mostly, we come to this when there is a small lesions. Naito, mostly we can see the large lesions, like large OKC's lesions. So In large lesions, what will be there? Like pain will be there, swelling will be there, discharge will be there. There are some neurologic manifestations also, like there will be paresthesia of lower lip, teeth. Then comes to the bony expansion. Now bone expansion, as it is seen in the later stage, so it is we can say when the OKC has gone very severe, then that case we can see the bony expansion. So the OKC tends to grow in an antero-posterior direction within the medullary cavity. It will not expand to the cortical bone. It will only and only expand within the medullary cavity, that too in antero-posterior direction. Hence, it reaches to a very large size when we do the diagnosis. So during diagnosis, we can clearly find that it has a very large size in the bony area. So we can clearly clarify it as OKC. Now, multiple OKCs are also present sometimes, and such cases are evaluated for other features of Gorlin syndrome. It is also the Gorlin syndrome is same, the nevoid basal cell carcinoma syndrome. And here there is no root resorption taking place. Here directly the displacement of the root take place. There is no root resorption. Now coming to the radiological features. Radiological means radiographically we can see that there is a radiolucency, means the area where the cyst will be present, there will be translucency. As you know very well that if there is any fluid filled material, in radiographs there is translucency, and where there is a crown or caries present, there will be opacity. So this is clear about the radiographic examination. So since here fluid is present, any gaseous content is present, so there will be radiolucency that can be unilocular or multilocular. There will be thin sclerotic border, which will represent that there is a reactive bone formation. There's very reactive bone formation here, but the border is very thin, sclerotic border, and that can be scalloped or that can be smooth. It can be both. It's not that it will be regular, it can be scalloped or it can be smooth. Sometimes these OKCs are associated with impacted or unerupted tooth, so we can say it is mimicking DC. DC, that is the dentigerous cyst. Dentigerous cyst has a very common feature that it is associated with impacted or unerupted tooth. So sometimes this OKC is also associated with impacted or unerupted tooth. So at that time we can say it is mimicking DC, but there are many more reasons also that it is an OKC only, like recurrence rate and aggressive behavior, mitotic behavior. So there is no confusion. Only radiographically we can have confusion that there is a impaction or unerupted tooth association. So that time that confusion comes, but mainly we can histopathologically, and if we see clinically also, we can identify it as OKC. Now there are many radiographic varieties also, like replacement, envelopmental, extraneous, collateral. In the replacement, as by name, it is suggesting that those cysts that are formed in the place of normal tooth of the series, means it is replacing something. So here it is replacing a normal tooth. In envelopmental, we can see that it is also a variety of OKC that embraces an adjacent unerupted tooth. Means that in the place of unerupted tooth, this cyst comes and forms a pathology. Now the extraneous, by the name itself, it is extra to something, or here in this case we can see there is teeth, so it is extra to teeth. So the extra to teeth region in the mandible is the ramus region. So mainly the ascending ramus region, we can see this, that is away from the teeth. Now collateral, those which are adjacent to the roots of the teeth. Usually we can see this in the premolar region, that too in the mandibular area. Now the histopathology. The histopathology is very important because all the cysts are markedly same clinically or radiographically, but histopathologically it will be very clear that which type of cyst is actually it is. So coming to the cystic lining first, as the cystic lining is the first layer we can see of a cyst. So it is a stratified squamous epithelium. It has a thickness of 6 to 8 layers, that to a uniform thickness of 6 to 8 layers. Then the perikeratinization with surface corrugation. Then polarized palisaded basal cells with hyperchromatism and no red. Now, the cystic lining is by the stratified squamous epithelium and uniform thickness of 6 to 8 layers. So, parakeratinization with surface corrugation. This is a very basic feature of this, that there is no rete ridges formed here. That is, the enfoldings are not formed, only the surface corrugation, that is, surface enfoldings are formed here. And the most important thing, the interface, that is very fragile. The epithelial connective tissue interface is a flat junction and it is very fragile attachment. And this is only the reason that why, why this particular cyst is a recurring cyst. Why this recurs? This is the reason, because the lining is very fragile, that while doing any surgery of this or while taking out this cyst, this fragile lining breaks into fragments and hence causes recurrence. Now the capsule, the connective tissue is present, islands of epitheliums are present, small satellite or daughter cysts are sometimes seen. These cysts represent enfolding of lining epithelium, which are seen when we see in a cross section. So these enfoldings are seen, and the satellites or daughter cysts are seen. These are the cyst which is formed by the islands of epithelium. As this epithelium of OKC has a very high mitotic rates, so it forms these small satellite and daughter cysts as well. And these are also taking part in the recurrence rate. These also give a very good chance to this cyst to recur. Now the lumen, it is a straw colored fluid lumen, and it is of consistency of thick, creamy, cheesy material, that is the keratin. Now the treatment. So treatment is finally the complete surgical excision of the cyst, but it's very difficult because it is thin and fragile cystic lining, and it can easily be break in the fragments, as I have told before. So there are 3 basic reasons to recur in this OKC, and that is where there can be the case of incomplete removal of the original cystic lining, or there can be the retention of these daughter cyst or the microcyst or the satellite cyst, which we have talked about in this previous slide. And then there is a development of new cases when some of the fragments of the epithelial lining gets stored there while we completely excise the cyst. So that time these fragments be there, and then after some time this cause a recurrence rate of this. So to reduce the recurrence of this cyst after the surgical excision, we have given some of the recommendations, like peripheral osteotomy of the bone cavity with a bone burr, and the chemical cauterization with Carnoy's solution. As the only treatment of this cyst is to surgically excise it, but there are many complications as well. So to reduce these complications, or to reduce the effect of recurrency, we can do something which can decrease this rate of recurrence. So some of the recommendations are the peripheral osteotomy. That means we can remove the peripheral bone which is present near to this cyst. So by removing that, we can reduce the rate of recurrence, as there will be nothing like that which can make the cyst to recur. All the fragments, everything will be removed with that bony area as well, because the bony expansion also take place. So if we remove that some of the bone, so there will be no chances of recurrence, as there will be nothing such thing will be left on that cavity or on that area, as everything we have excised with bone. And the chemical cauterization, this is nothing but it's the burning or removal of a part of the body, and by doing that we actually damage the tissue, but that can be healed very quickly. But these can decrease many other complications, like decrease the infections or any heavy bleeding. These all things can be reduced, but the damage which is getting to the tissue, that is very minimum, and that can be healed very easily and quickly. Then the Carnoy solution, this is only the solution by which we do the chemical cauterization. There are many other type of cauterization also, but here we are doing the chemical cauterization by using a chemical solution, that is a Carnoy solution. Now here the follow-up are very essential, as this has the capacity, this cyst has the capacity to recur, And if there is a multiple OKCs case, then the patient has to be evaluated for the possibility of the syndrome, because he or she can be associated with the syndrome as well, as we have talked here about the nevoid basal cell carcinoma syndrome. So if multiple OKCs are formed, so that time also we have to recall the patient, so to evaluate the patient for the particular syndrome as well, because that can also be very harmful for the patient. So that's it for the topic of the cyst. Thank you so much. Hope you liked it. Thank you.